right, it is 6 p.m. We do have quorum. I'm going to go ahead and call this evening's meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Florence to order. First item on this evening's agenda is approval of the minutes from the February, where'd they go? There they are. For the February 2024 meeting, minutes have been submitted to members of the board at ample time to review. Are there any amendments or changes to the minutes? There being none, do we have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item on this evening's agenda is hearing number BZA-2024-03. It's appealed of the city's decision to deny a hookah smoking lounge. Location is 1931 Second Loop Road, tax map number 90029-01-022. Owner of record, and I apologize if I'm going to mispronounce this, but Shockman Holdings LLC. Applicant is Terrence Trover. Zoning district is Activity Center. The board will now hear from city staff.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just wanted to preface Elaine's report because this is a bit of a different hearing than what the board's typically accustomed to. Typically, you're accustomed to hearing a variance request where, you know, the zoning ordinance requirements are such that the applicant needs relief or variance from the ordinance. The other type case that you often hear is a special exception where it's a use that has to meet special requirements, and the board is charged with making sure that applicant meets those requirements plus any other that may be required. This is an appeal from the staff's ruling on the zoning ordinance. So in this case, an application was denied based on staff's interpretation of the ordinance. So the motion would need, if made to uphold staff's decision, it would need to be made in that way to uphold staff's decision. Or if you overrule staff's decision, then it would need to be made to that effect, and some criteria or reasoning behind that identified as to why it would be overturned. So I just wanted to provide that as a preface because the board's not really accustomed to hearing an appeal. This is in my tenure here in 12 years. I think this is the first one. So
Okay.
It's exciting for all of us. I'll turn it over to Elaine.
Thank you, Mr. Stubbs.
All right, this is located on Second Loop Road, just past Valparaiso Drive, across from Patton Drive. Here's the up-close location picture of it. It is I think it used to be something on the loop. There was a bar and restaurant before. Right next to it, directly beside it, is a Vanti hair salon. On the corner of Valparaiso there is now I believe it's Hertz Rent-A-Car. And then in the rear is a plasma collection center. It is zoned activity center, which is about a general commercial. It allows most commercial uses. And then the apartments across the street are NC 6.3. The future land use map does describe it as general commercial. So it is appropriately zoned for the area. These are some photos of the restaurant, the site, the restaurant itself, and then of the plasma building in the rear. Almost exactly a year ago, the applicant came in applying for a zoning permit for his restaurant. He said it was a lounge, bar and grill, had previously been a bar, and so we permitted it as such. And on the zoning permit, I explained to him that, because I knew he had had a hookah lounge in the county, and so I explained to him that it did not meet the requirements for a hookah lounge, and so we specifically said on the zoning permit, a hookah bar is not permitted at this location, and then cited the section of the ordinance for that. Last month, Mr. Trower came in and decided, and apparently, I'm not even entirely sure how it came about that we were made aware that hookah smoking was going on inside the building. And I think someone from Codes Enforcement, but he can explain that, went and spoke to him. And so he has appealed our decision that he does not qualify for the hookah smoking, on the grounds that the denial of the ability to smoke it inside was erroneous and contrary to provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance. He says it is a bar and grill, but I want to be able to serve and rent nargile, and hookah inside. We can use tobacco, non-tobacco, or vape liquid. We operate as a member-only restaurant. We have a membership system requirement at the door and reserve the right to revoke membership. Part of our membership is an agreement waiver to be around smoke tobacco. We are also willing to go exclusively non-tobacco. Applicant is aggrieved by the action or decision in that we believe we meet the requirements to be defined as a specialty use building in order to allow hookah to be served inside the restaurant as opposed to outside only. This ruling affects our ability to retake our former niche as a bar and grill that offers hookah. Applicant contends that the correct interpretation of the UDO as applied to the property is defined on tax records as a retail lot, and it shares a parking lot with 3 other non-specialty businesses. Thus, it can be defined as a retail shopping center allowing specialty use in this building. And the applicant requests the following relief. Hookah inherently poses no threat to the public good, and this has been discussed at great length with surrounding businesses. And he suggested some conditions, including continuing a membership protocol with specific verbiage in agreement section about tobacco smoke. So I went to the Code of Ordinances through the fire marshal, and smoking is prohibited in enclosed public spaces in the city of Florence, which are open to the public or have employees within the city of Florence. The only place where smoking is not regulated are private clubs, except when they're being used for a function to which the general public is admitted. However, the portions of the UDO that we use to make our determination, a private club is defined as an organization or association of persons for some common purpose, such as a fraternal, social, educational, or recreational purpose, but not including clubs organized primarily for profit or to render service which is customarily carried on as a business. Examples of private clubs include, but not limited to, 4-H clubs, veterans organizations, Boy Scout and Girl Scout facilities, Elks Lodge, YMCA, YWCA, private community clubhouses, golf clubhouses, and fraternities and sororities that do not include residential facilities. The phrase private club does not include organizations with a principal purpose of serving alcoholic beverages to its members or others. The other definition that came into play was specialty use, which means a commercial use that tends to be an indicator of urban blight, particularly when located in close proximity to established residential areas. And this phrase includes, but is not limited to, and one of them is shops where smoking tobacco and other products is permitted, such as a cigar shop or hookah bar. So when you go to the use table for the AC zoning district, specialty uses are permitted, and so we determined that a hookah bar was a specialty use, so it would have to go by these conditions. And it says in the AC, the activity center, there's no more than one special use located within a radius of 750 feet, and he met that. But the use is located within a retail center that contains spaces devoted to at least 2 businesses other than the specialty use, and then security measures. Retail center itself was not defined in the Unified Development Ordinance, but according to the Planner's Dictionary, a shopping center is defined as a group of commercial establishments planned, constructed, and managed as a total entity with customer and employee parking provided on site. This is an independent lot of record, and so staff was contending that the business was a standalone structure on a distinct lot, and therefore it doesn't meet the requirement of being located within a retail center. So that is where we got our determination from, and the applicant disagrees with us. He feels that it does qualify as a shopping center. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. So really, the discussion we're trying to focus on now is really what this building is defined as. Is that correct? We're not really focusing on anything else, just is this a retail center or not?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Cool with that. Okay. Are there any questions for staff from members of the board?
Just to clarify, the question is this place considered a shopping? Is this place considered a place that is a part of a shopping center?
That's correct. Does it meet that criteria?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Lane, I do have a question. I'm sure you said it along lines, and I was trying to follow along. What was the city's determination based on to make the claim that it was a retail, that it was not a retail?
We typically have taken that to mean somewhere like a shopping center, like a strip mall or a shopping mall. We've denied a number of hookah or cigar lounges or other specialty uses in the downtown district if they were in a building that was, even though the buildings are right next to each other, they were still independent buildings. They were not a building with several units in them, the ones that they had proposed. We're thinking more of like a strip mall, like over by West Florence, where you've got, 10 tenant spaces, and according to the ordinance, the way we've interpreted it is one of those could be a specialty use, but you cannot have more than one. Basically, you want to kind of blunt the effect of the specialty use by having it surrounded by other uses.
In this particular one, it's situated, it could be perceived as looking at it, you got the rear portion of another total different merchant. So y'all's determination was that that was a freestanding, it was in and itself, not part of a retail definition.
Yes. Derek, can you put up the map?
Yeah, that would be a lot better.
Right. They're not under common ownership.
And that is one, that the building.
The red is his building,
that
his
is the
lot.
full, there's not multiple tenants in that one unit?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
if
you
there
very
were
much.
two other tenants in that building, then it would qualify.
Understood. Thanks
Is-
for clarifying that.
Is the reason that we don't want to have multiple specialty units in a space? Is it a safety risk or?
That's part of it, and then it's a perception risk, and historically, there's been police action at some of these places, and we just want to kind of dilute their effect by spreading them out.
Thank you.
Question. Because this is not something that we normally, case we normally would look at, was there a sign put out?
Yes, ma'am.
That it would, did any of the businesses surrounding that building call and want to know what's going on?
Yes,
and-
I was reached out by the neighbors next door expressing some concern just about some of the activities going on there, just trash problems, things of that nature. Not necessarily directly related to the hookah, but just the, I guess, the clientele or the activities in general.
So there has
Anyone
been a
write-
notice, oh, I'm so sorry.
Did anyone put anything in writing? Did they write a letter or anything?
No, ma'am.
No.
Sorry, I missed this. So there has been a noticeable by the public calling in to find out a little bit more about what the signs are for it.
That's correct. Yeah.
And once you informed them of what it was, and it wasn't, a normal case that we typically see every day, was there any more expressed interest or?
There was just mostly concerns about trash and things like that, of that nature with this.
And this business has been ongoing. It's been operating day to day.
For a year now. I
For a
think.
year now. I do have another question. To add on to you mentioned this been in operation a year. In the very beginning of your speech with the city's recommendations, and you mentioned that this was a codes enforcement. During their operation, when they first opened the business, they were not allowed to smoke, and clearly they were aware of that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and in the codes enforcement, there was no direct link that there was smoking, it was just,
I'm not actually entirely sure how it came to our attention that they were.
okay, but then once it did come to y'all's attention, he came forward and,
Well, we had to address it, and we did contact him. I think codes enforcement then did contact him and told him he can't do it there, couldn't smoke hookah there, and so he's appealed the decision to be allowed to do so.
and then go through the appeal process, correct? Thank you.
Are there any other questions for city staff or members of the board?
Yes, I do have
You're
one
good.
more. You mentioned the retail and the clubs, the different type. This would not, the private club, does this come into, would this be considered a private club or?
Well, when on his application, didn't say anything about being a private club, and it does not technically meet the description of a private club.
Yeah, I think the definition for private club differs in the zoning world than it does in the, like for SLED and for, fire marshal codes, whereby, for SLED purposes, a lot of times folks will get their alcohol license through as a private club. But in the zoning world, we look at them as a bar and grill or a bar, and not, or as a drinking establishment, and not as a private club.
So it's immaterial regardless if it is a
That-
private,
that's
because we're
right, that's
focusing
right.
on the
For
smoking.
the purposes of smoking indoors, it would meet the definition of a private club if he gets his, his alcohol license and all that through SLED, through those means, then he could technically smoke indoors. But the bottom line here is that we determined that the hookah lounge or the smoking indoors was not allowed in this location. So,
Was there a reason why it wasn't allowed? I'm sorry.
it's because it's not part of a common shopping center or that common retail shopping center
Okay.
where other businesses, like a strip mall or a shopping center, that's where it would be allowed.
And that retail that you put up on the map, that's actually one separate parcel. It's not connected to the common behind there with
Yeah,
all the
there's-
other
There are
units. It's-
3 different parcels around him, but they're not all.
Yeah, there
part
you go.
of-
That's a lot better. Yeah, because that's yeah.
So there's basically 4 parcels there. Each one has a building, but each one has its own parking lot, and they're not under common management.
They really don't even look. Do they share even parking lots?
I don't believe that there probably is some overflow, but
It does look
Not
clearly
technically.
defined.
Just for semi-visual purposes, can city staff provide examples of a specialty center that complies with 1-2.8.4? I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm just trying to get a visual of what it should look like versus,
right.
Yeah.
Over across from the Florence Mall, there's that little plaza that had the Clean Eats. Now it's got a Why Not Wings, and had a shoe store,
Okay.
and there's a vape shop in there.
okay.
And the vape shop would be
The
considered
vape
specialty?
shop would be considered the specialty use, but because you've got the Why Not Wings, and you've got, I think there's a salon there as well.
But there's no smoking allowed in there. That specialty shop as well. It's just
Correct, that's just for
Selling
sale, for sale,
tobaccos.
yes.
I know this has nothing to do with this, but I noticed a cigar place in Florence. What is
Right.
the difference between that and this?
I believe that is in a building that has 3 or more. I think there's 4 actually units in that particular building. You've got the yoga studio, the coffee shop, and a restaurant. And so the cigar shop was permitted in there.
Because it's 3 different other places, but because he's by himself,
Right.
he has to
Like the
not.
cigar shop, that happens to be one building with 4 units in it downtown.
Okay.
And if you're thinking of the tobacco place next to Harris Teeter, that went in before this ordinance was approved.
Yeah. And that would be considered a specialty store,
If they were to try to go in today, yeah, that we couldn't permit it.
so it's grandfathered in.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for city staff or members of the board? All right, thank you very much. The board will now hear from the applicant. Is Mr., and please, if I mispronounced this, I apologize. Is Trower here? Trower, okay, you step forward to the microphone, please, sir. I'm going to swear you in. Mr. Trower, do you promise the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, you may proceed, sir.
Where?
See, you just,
You're
yeah,
good.
Oh, okay.
yeah, just talk for the, just talk into the microphone. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Were y'all asking me questions, or was I just supposed to speak?
You just go ahead and then we can ask questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So like just a couple of things I wanted to clarify. When code enforcement came, I don't think code enforcement came. The police came, and they notified us about the smoking thing, which I already knew. Coming into it, what we were doing was we had to use vape hookahs as opposed to tobacco hookahs to kind of comply, not kind of, but to comply with the ordinance as far as I thought. They informed me that they weren't exactly sure. They was just like, listen, we don't know what it is, but we were told that hookah was being smoked. So we're just coming to talk to you about it. And whoever you need to talk to, you can figure that out. We're not writing you any tickets. We're not causing any hoopla right now. We just wanted to come. This is the best time we could come and check you out. So I had a conversation with Officer Merchant. Got the information as far as the zoning appeal went. Nobody was really sure exactly what I should do, and I think that's how I ended up here, because I was kind of like, I don't know what type of appeal to kind of put forth. But the couple of things that I was trying to stand on was like, one, that we have so many different options as far as hookah goes. If it's like when I read the ordinance, the spirit of the ordinance was kind of protecting the community from being in a public place surrounded by tobacco. So I kind of went on a little word rant there on the application, but I mean, just the kind of the points that I was standing on were that, one, we operate, and we've always operated as a private club. Liquor license wise, I know it says that it's different as far as like zoning goes, but we have bylaws. We have a membership system coming in. Everybody signs a waiver about being around tobacco smoke. And now the way we're doing it, we still have that same waiver in place, but we weren't even doing tobacco smoke in the new spot. So it was just vape liquid. Another thing was as far as like the definition of the retail center. Like if you look in the commercial business district, the reason that the cigar lounge was approved and the reason they had to meet those certain requirements is because it actually utilizes the word plaza. And it says that all the buildings need to be owned by the same person, because when I tried to get, if you remember Soleil Cafe on Irby Street, I believe, it was most recently Bridget's Bubbles. When I tried to get that, I wasn't able to get approved because of the fact that it met everything, but it had different owners next door.
Right.
So two of the tenants, I think two of the buildings were owned by one person, but then another one, I wasn't able to get it. One of the reasons I got this was because down the road, I was like, all right, when it comes down to it, I think I'll be able to stand on some type of ground as far as like this being that the word was retail center. I was like, well, there might be a little bit of room there. And the truth is, if it's not, it's not going to kill my business or anything like that. But I do love being one of the only, lounges. One of my original missions was bringing a culture that's not present in Florence to an otherwise culturally devoid market. We do a lot more than just hookah. We got some of the best wings in Florence. We offer great food, a great environment. We have an Alice in Wonderland themed atmosphere in there. Flowers coming down from the ceiling, clouds hanging everywhere. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance to come check it out. But yeah, these are the kind of things that I kind of thought maybe like, all right, I think we got some type of room to speak on just because of the non-specificity of the retail shopping center as opposed to Plaza. I didn't fight Plaza. When I saw Plaza, I was like, that's very clearly defined. It has to be this, this, and this. But in the activity center, it's a lot more loosely defined. So I feel like there may be room for an exception potentially.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Are there any questions for the applicant from members of the board?
When you applied for your liquor license, and you have a liquor license, right?
Correct.
Did you also say that you wanted your business to include the hookah lounge?
Well, no, not at the new spot. I didn't because she was good enough before I even applied. As soon as I walked in, I guess like the business reputation may have preceded me a little bit because as soon as I walked in, she was like, "Can't do a hookah lounge here." I was like, okay, that I can't have no type of tobacco smoke inside the building. She was like, "No, it's not a specialty use, so you wouldn't be able to do that." So that's when we actually didn't open. She said we've been open for a year. We got the business license a year ago, but we were going back and forth with the city for about 9 months in between. So we actually opened in November of 2023. So during that time, I kind of just tooled with, well, what can we do? Can we find a way to kind of operate within the boundaries of the ordinance while also still offering this, kind of niche product that we have? And what I came up with was, for one, they had tobacco-less shisha, which I didn't go. I bought some, but I didn't go into serving that yet, just because I didn't even want the bowls looking like nicotine bowls. So what we ended up doing was going with vapor hookahs, which is just the same as like a vape, but it just sits on top of the hookah. So it's an electronic thing, no type of heat or anything like that, and people can experience it like that. So those were things that I thought would be good. And like I said, when the police came in, they didn't say anything specific about that. But I just decided like I wanted some type of protection and some type of knowledge of like, hey, if this happens again, I'll be able to say I'm allowed to do this, or it won't happen again. And because I know in no circumstances am I allowed to do this. So just trying to gain that kind of black and white clarity on this.
Okay, so the where you are now, Second Loop Road, you said that's the new spot.
Yes.
But you have something that's another restaurant that's in the county?
We had a spot in the county, but we closed it down and moved to the city, to that Second Loop spot. Yes, ma'am. I don't know if I'm talking to the mic right now.
All right. Are there any other questions for the applicant from members of the board?
Yes, Chairman Cheney. I'm not sure if Ms. Moses was touching on it, but just in case, the private, Lane, she mentioned something about in regards to if it's a private club.
Correct.
Going through the proper channels of SLED and having liquor license in the
Yes, sir.
along those lines. And then I think if I heard her correctly, the private club would be allowed to have smoking. Is that a direction that you...
Well, we've always been a private club. I think the difference is he said distinctly that with zoning, it's kind of it's the same nomenclature, but it's a different kind of definition, if I'm not
Once you get
mistaken.
into retail, that changes the whole...
Yeah, I think the difference here is that, typically what happens is at a private club is they would serve alcohol under the moniker of a private club. And then the smoking would be allowed of their patrons who bring their own smoking products. So they're not permitted as a place that sells and allows smoking of the products they sell in the store. People at these private clubs typically have their own, smoking products to bring with them. It's just, a lot of times drinking and smoking go hand in hand, and they allow their patrons because they've acknowledged that they're in a place that allows smoking. See, we have a citywide smoking ban. That's why when you go into a restaurant or a bar or a nightclub within the city, smoking is generally not allowed unless it's categorized as a private club, and then and that's through the fire code laws that allow that.
So it differentiates right when the establishment itself sells their product, the tobacco or anything.
And he's seeking to get permitted as basically a hookah lounge, whereby they would be doing, I believe, beer and liquor sales, as well as food service, because that's required, as well as a hookah lounge as being, smoking sales and smoking of tobacco on site of their products. So they would be permitted as a hookah lounge in this case.
Well, you mentioned the patrons bringing their own tobacco products being different from when they actually sell their tobacco products, as opposed to this hookah bar itself. If they brought their own tobacco products, that wouldn't make any difference.
I'm not sure. We'd have to research that a little further in place, but typically, that is with like a pack of cigarettes or a vape, which people can fit in their pocket. Obviously these hookah pipes aren't very transportable and such. So.
And I did want to.
And the applicant may be able to clarify that further.
Yeah, I did want to say we don't allow any other type of smoking in there other than the hookah smoke. Just because, in general, we wouldn't, just because of it kind of deteriorates the quality of the experience when you got a bunch of smoke in the air. With nargal, that was the word from earlier. Nargals are just the actual hookah itself. That's what they're called. With the nargal hookah, whether it's tobacco, whether it's a vape, or whether it's a non-tobacco shisha that's being used, it's a vapor that's released. So it's not really even smoke. So it kind of just dissipates upon maybe within 3 or 4 seconds after exhaling it. It's dissipated. But yeah, I just did want to clarify that we don't allow any other type of smoke: cigarette smoke, black and mild, cigars, anything like that.
And even so, he makes a very distinct difference between vape and tobacco. Even so, vaping is not allowed as well in the codes.
It is not. No.
It's not.
Are there any other questions for the applicant for members of the board? All right. Thank you very much, Mr.
All
Strike.
right, thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody who wishes to speak either for or against the request? All right, please step forward. And ma'am, it'll be the same process. I'm just going to swear you in. If you just state your name clearly into the microphone.
My name is Angela James.
All right, Ms. James, you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
My name is Angela James. We are on Terrence's neighbor. We are on the salon on the back side of his building. And this is my landlord, Mr. Rhodes, and my mom, Yvonne, she's the owner. I work at the salon probably 53 hours a week, so I'm there more than anybody, and I've been the one having to deal with this more than anybody, and I've kind of taken it on trying to save Mom the stress. But I have been under a great deal of stress, as she had mentioned. We were having a lot of issues with the trash. I had reached out to Terrence multiple times. He says he would do it, but, a lot of talk, no action. I finally had to call the city. They wrote him a citation. So, we also, once he did finally get the trash cleaned up, I was telling him we were having issues with glass all over the parking lot. So what's happening is these patrons are, just like any club, it's like Apple Annie's, anywhere else. They're going to drink the beer, drink the liquor, chunk it outside their car and drive off. And I told him since day one before he even opened that was an issue with the bar that we had before. So I asked him just to make sure that stuff was cleaned up. Well, he's not really been sanitary on all that, and I reached out to him multiple times. I was out there with our little shop hair broom trying to get up the glass, and for 2 weeks I swept it up, and sure enough, a client drives over a bottle and gets a flat tire. And again, this is stuff that I had been begging and begging and begging. The trash was piled up like a mountain. Again, I know I'm not here about the trash, but you know, that's part of the responsibility of having a business like that. You know, we have a lot of regulations and rules with our salon. We have LLR, we have state board, we have OSHA. We have to make sure our business is kept clean. And it looks nasty and trashy on the outside, people are going to think we're nasty and trashy on the inside, and it's really upsetting to us. We've had our business here for over 20 years. My mom's been cutting hair since I was 6 years old. So we're actually the oldest hair salon here in Florence. So I have been really getting on to him, and he's thanked me for holding him accountable, and he's been very, very nice about the whole entire. As a person, I really like Terrence a lot, but it's just, I need you to take responsibility, dude. Not only that, we are just a bunch of women by ourselves, alone at night a lot of times. We work late. A lot of our clients have to come when they get off work. We don't feel safe. We're afraid at night when we get out of there. It's bad enough with those apartments. People are constantly walking to the dollar store back and forth, where it's not really that great of a neighborhood, but I feel like this is bringing more of the people that are on drugs and stuff like that out, and we're afraid for our safety. I've already told a lot of my clients I'm not going to stay up here and do a lot real late at night. So I've been trying to split them up and do them, you know, several nights at 6 o'clock. But just like tonight, when we were leaving, there was already a crowd getting up and going around there. He's expressed to me that his business has been robbed. There's been fights broken out over there, and cars have been broken into. And we're afraid for our business and our safety of getting broken into, and our cars getting broken into, just because it kind of attracts that type of thing going on. And I think that's all. I just kind of had in my bullet points so I could get up here and wouldn't blank out. But anyways, that's been our main concern, is the sanitation and the safety. And again, it's nothing against Terrence personally, because he has been very nice to me. Every time I've reached out to him, he could very well get upset and be ugly, but he hasn't. But like I said, he's said all the right things, but I need to see more.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any questions from members of the board? I'm sorry, yes, okay.
Where exactly is your shop located?
So if you want to pull that map back up for me real quick.
Thank you.
So you see that tiny little black
left?
skinny on the back side?
Okay.
So we literally back right up to him. So, and again, like she said, with the overflow. So the glass and all that, it's it's all over our parking lot. It's on the one behind it and the one over next to it. And anyways, it's just a real nuisance. Like I said, I could probably go on and on about it, but I know you're not here to hear about trash. But it just there's nothing in between us but maybe a brick wall about this high, and a little strip of grass.
Just to clarify, it looks like it's west. Is that western, or is it?
We're across from
Yeah.
Rogers
Thank
Barbecue.
you, Mr. Dudley. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yep.
And so there's no border partition, there's no wall or anything separating? Do they use your parking lot as well?
Yes, sir. And it's not only glass. I mean, it's food contain. I mean, it's anything you can imagine. We even had a pillow and a pizza box one night. I mean, it's just trashy all the time. And he'll go out there and clean it up, and I get on him, and the next day it'll be, and then the dumpster's a whole different issue. And again, I've spoke to Quentin. I think, did he call and talk to you yesterday? And the dumpster was too small. Then it was overflowing, so he ordered a bigger dumpster. Then it was overflowing. The trash bags aren't tied. It's a mess.
You mentioned your mother owns the property.
Yes, sir. And we take pride in our business. I mean, I get out there, cut the shrubbery, I lay the mulch. I mean, we take pride. We pressure wash the sidewalk, but it's like you can't even notice, the effort we put into it. It just makes us sad.
How long have you been operating a business outside there? of a
I've
small-
been with my mom 18 years, but we've been here in this location over 20.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was noticeably better when there wasn't. I mean, I remember through the years there's been a lot of bars there.
Yeah,
At that
and it has
location.
been vacant for what, Mr. Rose, about 10 years now. It was a taboo or a tavern or prior, and it was, the occasional vodka bottle or something out, but it was never anything like this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I do have the city staff.
Or, hold on one second.
Am I dismissed?
Hey, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak either for or against? All right, sir. Similar process, just state your name clearly into the microphone.
My name is Jimmy Rhodes.
All right, Mr. Rhodes, you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead, sir.
I own the building next door, and I had a wall put up when Nico's had it, and to separate the area. And I'm an optician. I'm retired now, and been doing it too long. But the only complaint, if you want to call it a complaint, is from the people that lease from me, the front and the back. And I've just retired a couple of years ago, so I've just recently rented out the front part. And but Yvonne's been back there since 2005. We've never had any problems at all. When Nico's was over there, it was a Greek restaurant. It was fine. After he closed up and moved, there was a bar put there. And the only problem with the bar, if a problem occurred, I just talked to Mike and he would take care of it. With Terrence, I just hear what's happening. I'm not there, the whole time. And he's trying his best to keep it up. Yes. I don't know how long that'll last, but it's the clientele that they're primarily concerned with, the type of clientele that he has. And I don't have an answer for that. I mean, it's a bar's a bar, and there's no control over what goes on outside the bar. But when it drifts over onto my property, it becomes an issue, only because of who I lease to.
Yes, sir.
So, if y'all have any questions about that.
Any questions from members of the board?
Your building or buildings are behind and the other side of what he has?
It's right beside it.
Oh, right to the right. Okay. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. I thought he was saying the other side. You're saying you guys are sitting together, so obviously you guys
whether or
are
not
together.
they use it for parking, with that, I don't know, because Yvonne, I think.
Well, the employee parking is where the biggest issue is, which is beside his building, which is on the back side.
On the back side.
Okay.
Okay.
Near the red line on the back side. That's our employee parking.
Are there any other questions from members of the
And
board?
I've had that
Sorry,
building
Mr. Rhodes.
since 1980s. I built that building in '87 and never had a problem
36 years ago.
till now.
Are there any questions from members of the board for Mr. Rhodes? All right, thank you, sir.
I have a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
I have a
Ms.
question.
Moses?
Before you move, I have a question. This parking lot, is this parking lot for the salon and the bar? That parking lot outside the red line in the rear?
No,
I'm not seeing it.
my lot goes to the back of that. You see that little black line, his goes, this property goes to the brick thing. Mine is there and it's, all right. And, basically, my property goes back to here.
Is it even with the red line on the other parcel? It is.
Trying to tell what, there's a,
The faint
That-
gray
that's a
lines are
planter.
the property lines.
and my property line goes to that planter, and it goes over to this easement, a road, it goes back to here. So, it's, my property goes from here, actually to there, I just have to give easement. But this is the parking that they're talking about, that the, shopping center, or the, hairdresser uses and the front part uses, they share that parking lot.
There's not much parking.
And what goes on at night, I don't know.
There's not much parking in
I'm
there.
sleeping most of the time. So, but, there is a brick wall that goes back to here. And it's roughly 3 feet, about 2.5 feet high. And separates it. And his front part right in here, all this is parking or whatever. But, I think he keeps his, dumpster or whatever is right there at the wall, which is fine, you know, no problem. And I put that wall up 2 feet off my property line specifically, off of this, you know, this way, you know, for reasons. Put this back.
That's fine.
All right, are there any other questions, Mr. Rhodes, from members of the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you.
Is anyone else who wishes to speak either for or against? All right, Mr. Trower, did you have something else you wanted to add?
I don't know if it's really relevant. It was just,
Into the microphone, just so we can have a record. Yes, sir. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, as far as like the, I don't know if it's even relevant to talk about the trash for me right now. Like, I guess I will though. Anyway,
That's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
okay. As far as trash goes, Miss Angela's been great with just kind of informing me when things aren't up, you know, to par as far as that goes, and I always make the appropriate adjustment. We've been growing. I'm pretty young in business. We've been growing. I started off with a 4-yard dumpster. Thought that would be enough. Grossly underestimated how much trash we would produce. Yeah. Obviously unrelated. Hookah doesn't produce much trash. This is more of a food service thing. Yeah. But I didn't realize how big the restaurant aspect of it was going to get as compared to. We came from like a 100 square foot kitchen to like a 700 square foot kitchen. So we're just producing a lot more food waste now. But every step of the way, when she's informed me, I do whatever it is up to, you know, when we spoke about it about a week and a half ago, I've been out there every night myself. I have a video from every night of how her parking lot looks. We don't allow any parking over on that side. Our employee parking is on the back side of our building. We allow parking on the sides, and we've spoken with LFB Plasma about using their parking lot, which they were okay with as long as we were cleaning up correctly. I got a complaint from them maybe about 2.5 months ago that it wasn't being cleaned up properly, and I hired a specific parking lot cleaning crew just to make sure that they're doing it, because I had my employees doing it, but obviously getting off work at 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes they're not they're not doing the best job cleaning it. So I have somebody that does that now, and I personally go and clean Avanti's parking lot every night. And I did inform at our last discussion that we built a shed to kind of make sure we weren't keeping stuff on the back side of the building, and the contractor didn't take a lot of the refuse from where he was ripping old stuff down, and we had to put that in the dumpster, which caused our dumpster to overflow this week. I told her if it happened again next week, I'd go up another 2 yards on the dumpster, but I don't think it'll happen. I think it was just because we threw so much wood and metal scrap and stuff like that at the bottom of the dumpster. But that is something that we take very seriously, and we know like our relationships with our neighbors is like probably one of the most important things, because that can definitely become a nuisance, for the people around us. So we do try, like I said, the business is growing. I'm putting the money where it needs to be in terms of parking lot cleaning and making sure that everything's up to par. I had my kids cleaning it at one point, but they weren't doing a very good job. So we've.
I appreciate it, Mr. Stroud. Thank you very much. No problem. All right. Mr. Poston, you had a question for city staff?
Yes, sir. Chairman Tuning, the question is in regards to how are we going to break this up into does the board need to determine is it the definition that the city has already came up with as a retail, and how do we need to proceed with that?
Yeah, I think the board just needs to decide whether the city staff interpreted the zoning ordinance correctly and applied it in this case, or if we did not, then I think you need to make some judgments there and some findings of fact as to how it was not interpreted correctly, and how, and this will set some precedent going forward as well. So.
And just kind of a follow-up with that, I think what Mr. President is alluding to is, however the motion that we've always done in the past, we've had findings of fact we have to list. This seems more cut and dry.
It is, very much so.
Okay, so when the motion is actually presented, there's no list really to follow. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Okay, I understand.
So, Mr. Tuning, Chairman Tuning, we're saying the city correctly defined this establishment as a retail, or?
Well, the question is around section 1-2.8.4. In the original application for the business license, city staff stated that a hookah bar is not permitted at this location per that section because it is not a specialty, make sure I get the wording specifically right, a specialty use. So our job is to either say, yes, the city is correct in their interpretation of this ordinance, or no, the city is incorrect. And if not, we have to list findings of fact similar to our variance request.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
So that it's very clear for staff
Right.
what the decision's based on and how we would interpret that going forward.
Right.
Thank you for the clarification.
And on page 6 of the presentation, under where it goes into specifics of 1-2.8.4, the main crux of it is section 2, item B. This use is located within a retail center that contains spaces devoted to at least 2 businesses other than the specialty use. And that's the crux of what we're looking at here. And that was the basis of the city's decision to deny the specialty use application here. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak either for or against the application? Are there any other questions for members of the board? All right, the chairman will now entertain a motion to either, make sure I say this correctly, either approve of the city's findings or interpretation of the variance, or interpretation of the ordinance, or to deny the city's definition. I guess if I'm wording that correctly. Okay, okay. Close enough. Okay, yes, sir. All right. Does the board agree with the city or not? I'll leave it at that. Here we go. Yes, sir. The chair would like to make a motion unless a member of the board wants to. I make a motion that the board agree with city staff in denying the special use definition in this particular instance, based on the fact that this use is not located within a retail center that contains spaces devoted to at least 2 businesses other than specialty use. I do appreciate Mr. Trower's intentions, but in this particular case, the board does agree with city staff.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Poston. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. City's definition is upheld. Mr. Trowell, thank you so much. This is not an attack against you or your business at all. It's just we're trying to stick with what's already in the books. We wish you nothing but the best at that location. Yes, sir. All right. And you guys are more than welcome to stick around for what I'm sure is another riveting hour of the Board of Zoning Appeals, but you are free to go if you wish to leave. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Next item on this evening's agenda is a matter of discussion regarding HBS Motorsports freestanding sign.
That's correct. Yes, sir. You recall some time ago, the board had granted a variance for the HBS Motorsports sign at the old Winn-Dixie location over on Evans Street. And at the time, the city manager and the city attorney saw it fit to possibly appeal that decision. So it was sent up through the appeals process. And the court order that came back asked for the BZA to hear that case again. So yeah, it's always fun to rehash old business and old decisions.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to make the board aware that we would be bringing that case back before the board next month. So and we'll obviously put together staff reports and some of the history related to it, and we'll rehash old business next month. So is there anything else on the agenda so far that we know of?
I do have a variance request.
Okay, so we possibly have 2 cases on the board next month for the board. So.
Very well. Thank you very much. Are there any questions regarding that case from members of the board? I know we have several that were not here when that occurred, but
Oh, it was some time ago.
yeah.
It was.
I've been thinking about this thing, and then I kept, after the meeting, I was visualizing that sign being on that corner. And I was like, that sign is just, we can't do that.
That's one of the unique things about this board. We get to see our mistakes.
As far as we know, yeah. And we can talk the specifics next month about it.
Yeah, I was about to say I gotta see everything because we talked about it, but I don't know exactly what the what the conversation
And
is.
we'll present all the facts of the case, and we'll bring it back, and just like we did before with any new information that's brought to us as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, and welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Should have brought a cake. I feel bad.
Cupcakes would have been awesome.
Yeah,
All right. Are there any other items from city staff? Any new business?
that's it for us.
Anything from the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the
Oh,
meeting.
now we're going to make a motion. I see. All those in favor signify by saying aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you.